Welcome back, Truth Seeker. January 10th, 2019. One of the top stories this afternoon is the Trump House preparing to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the Supreme Court, saying her death could be imminent. And if you've been following my work, back in September, I said I don't think we're going to see Ruth Bader Ginsburg make it to her 86th birthday, which is March 15th of this year. And I came out and said that after CNN launched their documentary paying tribute to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. If you're new here, what I expose is how the mainstream media and the government operate by a code in sync with each other, a code that's hidden within the English language and the dates of the Gregorian calendar year. And it wasn't an accident that CNN came out with a documentary on Ruth Bader Ginsburg on September 3rd. Of course, she joined the Supreme Court in the year 93, like how in the US we write September 3rd, 9/3. This is also the day leaving 119 days left in the year, a very special number, a number corresponding with the Gematria of Ginsburg. All of these values of Ginsburg are important. 47, big number in DC. The words judge and gavel equal 47, plus a whole lot more. We'll get to it. The word supreme's 97. It's why Brett Kavanaugh was nominated on July 9th. It's why his confirmation process involved the date September 7th. But I just want to show you what was so interesting about this documentary coming out September 3rd in light of her birthday. In case you're new here, there's 4 base ciphers. The alphabetic order, that's the dark green cipher. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, up to Z is 26. The dark blue cipher is the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. So A still 1, B still 2, C still 3. Where it changes is when you get to J, the 10th letter. You take the numerology of 10. So J, instead of being 10 in the dark blue cipher, it's the numerology of 10, which is 1 plus 0 is 1. You do that all the way up to Z, the 26th letter. The numerology of 26 is 2 plus 6 is 8, so Z is 8. You just make each letter a single-digit number. The next 2 ciphers are the reverse alphabetic order. Z is 1 back to A is 26, and the reverse alphabetic order with numerology. But here what matters about Ruth Bader Ginsburg are the numbers 194 and 86. From the day that the documentary came out about her on CNN to her 86th birthday, March 15th, was 194 days. And when the media starts giving these kind of tributes to people, it's usually a sign that their death is near when they're elderly. Talked about this before. Most recently, we've been talking about it with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So not an accident that CNN released the documentary on September 3rd, 9/3, in light of her joining the Supreme Court in 93, and also synced up 194 days from her 86th birthday. So I'm thinking we're going to hear a big announcement about Ruth Bader Ginsburg January 27th. Which is 17 days from today. And this is the reason why. Understanding that the government and the media does everything by this code, January 27th is 47 days from Ruth Bader Ginsburg's upcoming birthday, which is on the 74th day of the year, the Ides of March. And January 27th, 19 is also a date with 47 numerology, as well as a date with 67 numerology. So it's 47 days from her birthday to date with 47 numerology, and Gematria Ginsburg equals 47. So does judge, so does gavel, so does DC, so does Trump, so does president, so does White House, so does government, so does authority. The cornerstone for Washington, D.C. was laid on a date with 47 numerology. This number is extremely important to Freemasonry, which has the 47th problem of Euclid about how to establish foundation. Freemasonry runs the government, it runs media, it does everything by this secret code, including killing people. So I think we're either going to get an announcement about Ruth Bader Ginsburg stepping down or possibly even dying on this day. And with regards to the date having 47 numerology, as well as 67, the name Ruth is 67. Blood sacrifice has gematria of 67 and 86. And again, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is also 86. I wanted to see how this date stacked up with Donald Trump's birthday, because everything that goes on with the federal government is synced up with Trump's birthday, just like it is with every sitting president at the time. All of these rituals are perfectly coordinated. From January 27th, the day we're looking at, to Trump's birthday, June 14th, is 138 days later. Notice Donald Trump equals 138. Federal, when you flip the alphabetic order, is 138. This would be a big federal news story. Supreme Court appointments or lifetime appointments. Ruth Bader Ginsburg's been on the court since 93, so more than 25 years now. And they pay tribute to this fact here in the story. 25 years on the bench. 25. I want you to look at judge and gavel in the four base ciphers. Perfect overlap in all four. Notice judge and gavel both 25. The word supreme with the alphabetic order equals 97. That's the 25th prime number. Death has this gematria of 97 and 25. We're just talking about this with the college national championship at the beginning of this week. C.J. Fuller, murdered by the numbers. Clemson player, dead 97 days before the championship. Said back in October, don't be surprised if Clemson makes it to the championship because of his death. Just like the last year they won the championship, they had the death of an athlete at Clemson. So, speaking of 47, Ginsburg just missed the first day of court for 2019, which was the beginning of this week, January 7th, 2019. That was also a date with 47 numerology. Think about how January 7th can be written 1/7, like 17. Today's January 10th, and we're getting this news story from the White House about preparing to replace her. Notice today is 17 days from January 27th. The word Mason equals 17. The word kills 17. Modern Freemasonry began in 1717. Again, Washington, D.C., laid out by the Freemason L'Enfant. She missed the arguments. Arguments has Gematria 118 like Cancer. This whole thing is over, she's still resting from the cancer-related surgery, which we covered days ago and which we'll review here. This news from January 7th about her missing the first day of court, that was also 67 days before her 86th birthday. Remember, again, blood sacrifice, 67 and 86. So let's revisit what was so suspicious about the surgery story. It came during the time of Saturnalia. Saturn is symbolized through the number 93, the year she joined the court, the date, September 3rd, the day that CNN put out the documentary. Ruth Bader Ginsburg reportedly collapsed and broke her ribs on November 7th. And then they discovered that she had these cancerous nodules. They had the surgery for that December 21st. And notice, from the day she broke her ribs to the day they found the cancerous nodules, 44 days. Antonin Scalia once died on a ranch on the 44th day of the year, February 13th. Ranch equals 44, kill equals 44. So does cancer, so does chemo. She's in the alphabetic order. Cancer, chemo, kill, they're all 44. A is 1 up to Z is 26. The date of this cancer surgery, December 21st, 2018, it was a date with a life lesson number of 44. 44. Here's Scalia, dead February 13th, the 44th day of the year, dead on the ranch. The date of the surgery for Ruth Bader Ginsburg was 84 days before her birthday. The divisors of the number 44, if you take the numbers that divide into 44 and add them together, they sum to 84. There's a mathematical relationship with those numbers. Jesuit, Masonry, United States of America, 84. The Jesuits, very important to the Supreme Court. We just saw Brett Kavanaugh face off against Christine Blasey Ford by the numbers, which I covered very thoroughly. The entire Ford process, how it was all done by this code. But that was done on the Jesuit order's birthday. The Supreme Court is entirely Catholic and Jewish, and not by accident. Those are the forces that rule Washington, D.C. from the beginning of this nation, even before D.C. was there. D.C. used to be the Catholic colony. The Scottish Rite of Freemasonry is there, which is a Jewish branch of Freemasonry primarily. The Jesuits and the Scottish Rite share a lot of mottos and a lot of rituals, including the use of gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words, which comes from Kabbalah. Just for a reminder about last year, Ruth Bader Ginsburg did not attend the State of the Union. That was one of the big stories the day of. And what I pointed out was that from her, or excuse me, this was 2 years ago now, after Trump first took office, when she was 84 years old, from her birthday, or from the day she skipped the last year, January 30th, 2018, when she was still 84 years old, when she skipped the State of the Union, it was 44 days before her upcoming birthday. See that? 44 days. She was 84. The relationship with 44 and 84. Foreshadowing, ritual. Our entire federal government is puppets on strings. The Supreme Court, these people don't really have any power, just like the president doesn't really have any power. They are puppets fulfilling a position. The people who run this nation run it from the shadows. The bankers, the corporations, you know. I also want to point out that in light of 86 being a big number of focus here, Ruth Bader Ginsburg 86 to get rid of, the last Supreme Court justice was sworn in on October 6th, the day leaving 86 days left in the year. 86 days left in the year. The day that Kavanaugh was confirmed, a lot of people overlooked this, including the entire truth community, supposed truth community. But October 6th was the same day in history that Anita Hill came out and accused Clarence Thomas of sexual assault. And then, Kavanaugh with this whole process, the sexual assault accusations, the testimony on the Jesuit order's birthday, September 27th. Anyway, just notice. They waited to do this until October 6th because Kavanaugh equals 86, so does sexual assault, so does Anita Hill, so does Thomas, as in Clarence Thomas. And I believe in Clarence Thomas's case, from his birthday, Clarence Thomas, his birthday, from his birthday to the day that Anita Hill came out on October 6th was 106 days later, kind of like 10/6. Authority has that gematria of 106 as well. Notice how Clarence Thomas goes with Washington, D.C. Understand, all of these people are puppets. They've all gone through rituals over the years, shaming rituals, murder rituals. This stuff happens again and again. It's clockwork. From the Anita Hill thing to the swearing in at Kavanaugh was 27 years later. We call that the ritual number. Again, we're looking out for January 27th in regards to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, possibly being removed from the court or possibly even dying. Also, a film just came out on the basis of sex, which is in part based on the life of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So they say. On the basis of sex equals 80, and that film released 80 days before her birthday. And not by accident, because this is how the world of media, government, entertainment operates. It's all controlled by masonry. By the way, Bavarian Illuminati equals 80 as well. Bavarian Illuminati, a branch of Freemasonry, established May 1st, 1776, just before the American Revolution. And as another reminder, we talked about this story on Halloween. I said this wasn't a good sign for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Story about a little girl in a wheelchair dressing up as Ruth, getting national attention. You guys remember being a child and getting a national news story about you for who you dressed up for as Halloween? Again, if it's in the news, it's propaganda. It's part of a ritual. And they said this little girl was 9 years old, like how there's 9 members on the Supreme Court. They said her name was Julia Talbot, which in Gematria, well, I'll show you this first. From Ruth Bader Ginsburg's birthday, born in 33, to this Halloween story was 33 weeks later. They said the little girl's name was Julia Talbot, 33. In that same cipher, federal equals 33. So does masonry, so does secrecy, so does order. Julia Talbot also has gematria of 174, like Supreme Court. If you write out number of the beast, it equals 174. The number of the beast is 666. October's the only month with 666 gematria. Witchcraft equals 666. We associate black gowns with witches. It's not an accident that judges wear black gowns. You know, man is not supposed to judge man. But this little girl's story, the name Talbot also had that gematria 38 like death, but no doubt this little girl's story, like I said the day of, you can watch my video from Halloween, I said when Ruth Bader Ginsburg kicks the bucket, it'll be synced up with this story. And what's really interesting is from Halloween to January 27th is 88 days later. And what's 88? It's a number of things. Again, it's judge when you flip the alphabetic order around. It's gavel. It's the name Trump with the alphabetic order. You remember how Bill and Hillary conceded to Trump wearing purple the night of the rigged selection? Purple equals 88. The merge of red and blue, like how Trump was a Democrat his whole life until Obama was president. Red and blue. Purple. If you write out the Republican Party, it's also 88. And think about, I mean, how unprecedented it would be for a president to install 3 Supreme Court justices this early into his administration. And by the way, the first one he installed was Neil McGill Gorsuch. Look at his name, 88. Notice the 187 as well. Washington, D.C. equals 187. George Washington equals 187. Donald Trump had his GOP convention begin July 18th, 18/7, like 187, a span of 187 days from Inauguration Day. Right now, there's the Robert Mueller investigation. Robert Mueller's 187. So is the word investigation, 187. Go on all day. What's etched on the building, the Freemason headquarters in D.C., it's called the Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, 187. George Washington, 187, was a Scottish Rite Freemason. Neil McGill Gorsuch was the 113th Supreme Court justice installed, Scottish 113. No. So it's all perfect ritual, everything in DC, all of these puppets, the way they're installed. And by the way, what day did they confirm, Neil McGill Gorsuch? April 7th, 47, judges 47, DC's 47, Trump's 47. April 7th is also the 97th day of the year. Supreme 97. Ginsburg has this 97 thing, 97, the 25th prime. She could go up 25 years after being on the bench. So what else is a trip is from September 3rd, the day that CNN put out the documentary, to January 27th. If you count that span of days, it's 147 days. Earlier this year, I said George Herbert Walker Bush would die at age 94, and he wouldn't make it past November because of this number. When you write out 94 as a word, it equals 147. He ended up dying 147 days after George W. Bush's birthday, just like his father, Prescott Bush, died on his 147th day of his age. Notice, there's 147 windows on the White House. Look it up if you doubt it. Freemasons, 147. Conspiracies, 147. U.S. presidents, 147. President of the United States is 147. That's why you just saw Herbert Walker go out at age 94 and 147 days after his own son's birthday. So, just like I said back in September, when you see Ruth Bader Ginsburg die, it'll be synced up with the release of this documentary. Then when the Halloween thing came out, I said, when you see Ruth Bader Ginsburg die, it'll be synced up with this Halloween story about the little girl, Julia Talbot. And look at how both of those dates point right at January 27th, which is a day that's starting to make a lot of sense based on what's floating today and just the way it lines up with their birthday. Because again, all of these rituals are lined up with the person's birthday. So one more proof why gematria is the most important study in the truth community. It allows you to see what will happen before it does. Can't tell you how many correct predictions I have over the years I've been doing this. So, gives you the knowledge you need to see the lies of this world. Proves that our government is a fraud, proves the media contrives propaganda, it proves that people are ritualistically murdered, it proves that professional sports are rigged and scripted, and more. So, we'll leave it there, Truth Seeker. Till next time.